Viewers of Coronation Street have been urging Todd Grimshaw to take action, as Theo Silverton's disturbing treatment of his partner continues to worsen in upcoming scenes on the ITV soap. It has been nearly a year since Theo arrived in Weatherfield, where he soon began a romantic relationship with Todd. However, their relationship quickly turned toxic, with Todd finding himself trapped in a controlling and emotionally abusive partnership. Fans will remember that Todd eventually decided he wanted to leave Theo after Billy Mayhew uncovered just how badly Todd had been suffering. Billy tried to help him escape the situation, but his plan collapsed when Theo unexpectedly appeared as the group prepared to return to Weatherfield from Debbie Webster and Ronnie Bailey's wedding in Yorkshire. The journey back soon became tense and uncomfortable. Not long afterwards, the minibus they were traveling in became involved in a devastating multi-vehicle crash, part of the dramatic crossover storyline between Coronation Street and fellow ITV soap Emmerdale, nicknamed Corriedale. While most passengers managed to get out safely, Billy was left trapped in his seatbelt inside the vehicle. Although he initially appeared to free himself, the situation took a chilling turn when Theo returned to the minibus to check who was still inside. In a shocking moment, Theo seemed to fasten Billy back into his seat while performing last rites, before abandoning him as the vehicle caught fire and exploded with Billy still trapped inside. Despite appearing to feel some guilt afterwards, Theo's cruel behavior toward Todd has continued. He has repeatedly tried to manipulate Todd by making him feel responsible for Billy's death, while also exerting financial control by cutting up Todd's bank cards and restricting his access to money. During Thursday's March 5th episode, viewers saw Todd continuing to struggle financially. He worried about how he would afford anything for Theo's upcoming birthday, especially after running out of the small allowance Theo gives him, even though he has taken on extra shifts at the Undertaker's to earn more money. Fans quickly took to social media to react to the storyline. One viewer wrote that they couldn't stand Theo and were eagerly waiting for Todd to finally leave him. Another commented that the idea of Todd receiving an allowance from his partner was outrageous and said they hoped Todd would soon escape the situation. A third fan jokingly remarked that if Todd didn't push Theo down the stairs soon, they might stop watching the show. Unfortunately, the situation is set to deteriorate further in upcoming episodes. Theo will accuse Todd of ruining his birthday and demand that he go out to buy a bottle of wine. When Todd suggests having coffee instead, Theo reacts with anger. Discussing the violent confrontation that follows, actor James Cartwright explained that violence in relationships can become normalized when it goes unchallenged. According to him, the behavior can escalate over time as it develops into another method of control. He added that violence in any situation is terrible, but within a relationship it is particularly disturbing. For Theo, it becomes another way to dominate Todd and punish him whenever he doesn't follow his demands. Cartwright described Theo's actions as completely unacceptable. He said that the more Todd attempts to stand up for himself, the more determined Theo becomes to crush that resistance by asserting his physical power. The actor also pointed out the clear difference in size between the two characters. Theo, a large and muscular scaffolder, uses his physical strength as a means of intimidation to ensure he gets his own way. Coronation Street actor James Cartwright has revealed that terrifying scenes are coming up for Todd Grimshaw as the abusive storyline involving Theo Silverton intensifies. Episodes airing next week will show Todd sinking deeper into despair as Theo continues to create tension and chaos in his life. The uneasy moments unfold during celebrations for Theo's birthday. When Todd turns up late to the event, Theo spitefully gives him the bill to pay, which James says is part of his character's highly manipulative behavior because he knows Todd has no money. According to the actor, Theo is deliberately trying to humiliate Todd in public by sending a message that Todd needs him financially and cannot manage on his own. Outwardly, Theo attempts to portray Todd as incapable and useless, implying that without him, Todd would struggle to cope with life. When Todd's bank card is declined, Theo conveniently steps in to pay the bill himself, presenting himself as the hero. However, in private, he scolds Todd harshly, which James described as part of a calculated and carefully planned tactic. The actor explained that although some of Theo's previous actions were opportunistic, he is now intentionally working to isolate Todd from his friends and any sources of happiness that do not involve him. His ultimate goal, James said, is to make Todd completely reliant on him. Later in the storyline, Theo explodes in anger during a confrontation at home. Sadly, Todd has begun to grow used to the violence, as repeated abuse has started to feel almost normal to him. James noted that violence tends to escalate when it goes unchallenged, gradually becoming more extreme as time passes. He emphasized that violence in any situation is terrible, but within a relationship, it is particularly disturbing. For Theo, aggressive behavior becomes another method of control, used to punish Todd whenever he refuses to follow his demands. The actor described the behavior as utterly unacceptable and disturbing. He also explained that whenever Todd attempts to stand up for himself, Theo responds by trying to crush that resistance through intimidation and physical dominance. James further highlighted the clear physical contrast between the two characters, saying Theo's larger and stronger build gives him an advantage in intimidating Todd. In scenes that follow, Theo is discovered the next morning by Gary Windus sleeping in his van, claiming that he and Todd argued about money. Gary later visits the flat to check on Todd, who confesses that he hopes to repair his relationship with his fiancée. However, Gary unknowingly makes matters worse by bringing Theo back to the flat without warning Todd. When Gary leaves them alone to settle their issues, Todd is placed in a deeply unsettling and dangerous situation. James explained that Todd never knows what to expect once the door closes, as the home they share can either feel loving or become a place of fear and misery. He added that Theo's behavior is completely unpredictable, which creates constant anxiety for Todd. According to the actor, Theo might show affection and apologize one moment, but in the next, he could react violently. For Todd, that uncertainty makes the situation terrifying. James concluded by saying that this unpredictability is exactly what has kept viewers hooked on the storyline, as audiences never know how events will unfold. Coronation Street has finally given viewers an update about the whereabouts of Audrey Roberts, after the much-loved character spent several months away from the screen. The fan-favorite role has been played by Sue Nichols, who is now 82 years old, and has portrayed Audrey on the famous cobbles since 1979. In recent months, however, the retired hairdresser has been noticeably absent from the show, something longtime viewers have quickly picked up on. During last Thursday's episode of the ITV soap, which aired on the 26th of February 2026, Audrey was finally mentioned again in a brief conversation. The update came when her granddaughter Sarah Platt referred to her during a scene. As fans of the program know, Sarah's sister-in-law, Shona Platt, recently misplaced her wedding ring, prompting everyone in the family to help search for it. While speaking to her mother, Gail Platt, on the phone, Sarah reassured her that people were doing everything they could to help resolve the situation. She also suggested that they should avoid mentioning the problem to Audrey for the time being.